Hello and welcome to another quarantine episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. We had the excitement of the NFL draft this week.
The highest rated draft in NFL history.
Yes. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Even if you want a barometer, the WNBA draft was the highest rated WNBA draft in history too.
Okay, there you go. And it seemed like they, at least the first round, with all those, Bart's people personal stories, it seemed like they were really going for sort of that broader audience. They were making it almost like American Idol meets the NFL draft as opposed to the normal NFL draft. Like there was less football talk and, breaking down of the players, which I like, and more, so-and-so grew up here and this is all the problems he's had in his life, which I don't know. But I know that's a formula that works, and I think that's what they were going for, knowing they had a broader audience.
They knew that it was going to have a wide audience.
Yeah.
And they were trying to create some more fans, trying to widen the base. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. I thought Roger Goodell was very stiff. I know I'll applaud him for trying, but I just don't think he is what he is. He's stiff.
He's very stiff. And the wardrobe change was weird.
Yeah. Come on. He's not Mr. Rogers.
No, and he's not Lady Gaga, so it's like a weird... I did like the idea of, finding whoever the NFL's equivalent of Charles Barkley or somebody like, try to make it a little more, as opposed to going the sappy, sad route, which I know people love a human interest story and,
Yeah.
It just felt like there was an opportunity to maybe, at least mix it up a little bit differently here and there. And I know it was shown on multiple networks, so you could get the in-depth NFL breakdown of the players if you wanted it, if you went to the NFL Network and some of the other sites. So.
Yeah, I watched on the NFL Network.
Okay.
And I thought, I was very happy with the NFL Network coverage.
Yeah. Because, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I feel like having been around a lot of people my entire life, like even when somebody, I know a lot of people this year in New Orleans, for instance, that really got on the Zion story and were excited about Zion. And just because they know I'm a big sports person and I play basketball with some of the guys at work and everything else, so like they would occasionally ask me, but they didn't actually watch any more NBA or go to any games. But it was like, oh, that guy seems like such a nice guy. Like, how's he doing? Is he still, why is he not playing? So I don't know if they widen. You do have a great person and character and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if it's possible to necessarily widen your base, especially with all the programming and content available right now. Maybe if it came back right now where people are stuck and people just have nowhere to go, nothing to do, then maybe.
People just starved to watch some live content, so we're gonna have to see what's first. Whatever's first is gonna draw a big audience.
Yeah.
So we were talking offline. Let's talk a little bit more about the first round of the draft.
Okay.
And we both agreed that we're puzzled with the Packers.
Yeah, I think nationwide puzzles the Packers because as we said, they traded up to take a quarterback who has been called a poor man's Patrick Mahomes. They're like, if you watch enough highlights of this guy, he throws some sidearm passes and he's got a cannon. And he occasionally makes plays with his feet. But he also threw 17 interceptions last year in college football, which is never a good sign. And he's a little erratic. So, and then you have a volatile quarterback and Aaron Rodgers in a team that was in the NFC Championship game last year. You had offensive linemen on the board. You had every running back on the board. You had most of the receivers on board. And that's who they went up and got, which is pretty crazy. Or a defensive player. I don't want to, obviously defense is half the game.
Yeah. I just think, what struck me is if I'm on the Packers, it sends me a bad message that you don't think we can win this year, or you think that, or maybe you're saying we think we can win with what we have.
Right.
And I don't ever think that's the case because every team's going to get another piece toward this year. So, I know the Niners, they've made some great moves.
And again, with the Packers thing, I feel like if Tua falls to the Packers, and Tua was considered a generational potential, if he stays healthy, like he's got such good ball placement, such good field vision, looks off safeties. Like if a guy with that high of a ceiling fell to you there, then I don't think people are as, it's like we had to take him. But a guy that, was anywhere from a first to a third round pick, depending on who you were, And again, I don't know if maybe it doesn't matter. You just do what you have to do. But you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, who I think over the years we've decided is at least very surly.
Yeah.
And, I think it's already slipped out that he is not happy with the pick. Not that I listened to Chris Long on the Ringer podcast, and he was talking about, like, when he went to Philly, they drafted a first-round pick, they drafted a defensive end. And he's like, that's the reality of the business. Like, your replacement is always, is that they're always looking for the next you, or the guy that's going to be slightly better than you, or younger than you, or cheaper than you, and that's just the way the business works. But like we said, on a team that was a game away from the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Well, pro football took a real leap forward in the state of Florida because the Dolphins and the Bucs should be really interesting this year. Now, much more expectations for the Bucs than for the Dolphins, but the Dolphins really strengthened their team.
Yes. The Dolphins, despite trading Minka Fitzpatrick, which I'm happy with that as our first round pick. We have an all-pro safety who's 24 years old under team control for 3 more years. I'm totally cool with that. And Laramie Tunstall is now the highest paid left tackle. So the Dolphins did trade away 2 incredibly talented players for first round picks. But I thought that coach did a great job down there and turned them around. They have a nice little culture going. If Tua turns out to be, 3/4 of what he could be, like, that's going to be a team, especially with Brady gone now. That's a team, you really got to look out for. And then Tampa, although Tampa could be in some trouble apparently. Because they think Brady did some illegal with the Gronk and some other negotiation tactics were not above board somehow.
Well, I think that's almost a given.
It's almost a given, yeah.
Yeah.
And see how they get punished or don't get punished. But they're a team that, to be fair, I picked them to win the division last year, and I think I might have picked them to win the division the year before. Because they always look so tantalizing on paper. And maybe the difference will be Brady, and that's all that they needed was to get rid of, the erratic Jameis Winston, bring in Tom Brady, in a couple more years for the young guys to develop. But
well, look at it this way, Jason. They get penalized. They get penalized the draft pick.
Yeah,
is what they get penalized, and so Brady's got one maybe 2 years left in him. This is your shot to win the Super Bowl. You'll give up a draft pick to try and win the Super Bowl.
I think so.
So whatever you need to do.
Yeah. And on the Gronk side, Gronk is dropped down in the off. Besides having, him reportedly saying he has 20 concussions in his career, he dropped down to under 220 pounds. He's been away from the game for over a year now. It'll be interesting to see what he can come back and do. Although he is the current WWE 24/7 champion as well. So we'll have to see how that works with everything else too.
And how legit is that title?
It was initially a comedy title, just to throw another one out there, and they would have their mid-card guys that didn't know what to do with. And basically the gimmick is, you could be, one of the guys was supposedly getting married, and he got pinned at the altar, and the other guy took the belt. And, it's just one of those, like, you can be anywhere at any time in the shopping mall. That was just for them to, come up with some other comedy content. So now Gronk is the title holder for now. But,
Another draft I like the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
And what I liked is I saw a coach come in and really set his authority and set his vision and follow through on his draft. So I like that. We both talked about, I think the Ravens had an amazing draft.
And for a team that's a young team with a lot of really good young players, as a Steeler fan, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, who do you think was the best pick they made?
I really like the linebacker they got right in the beginning from LSU.
Yeah.
He's very much in the, we got Devin Bush last year, who's a sideline-to-sideline guy that can go all over the field, and they basically got their own version of that on a team that already has a lot of talent, and Lamar Jackson. I think, sadly, we talked a little bit about, next season. The Chiefs are bringing back 20 of 22 starters with the same coaching staff and the same quarterback. They added a really exciting player out of LSU with the running back position. They took gambles on a few character red flag guys, but I think when you're the Chiefs, you're the Super Bowl winning team, you have all that talent, you can, swing for the fences on a few picks.
You already have red flag guys on the team, so you might as well add a few more.
Right. And apparently you pseudo-handled Tyreek Hill. and you got through the Kareem Hunt disaster. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think
Tyreek Hill got through the whole offseason so far without an injury.
he did, which is pretty, given all the circumstances he was under where he is now. But I mean, you also have Mahomes, who's incredibly likable. I'm sure if you're a kid, you're either a Lamar Jackson fan or a Patrick Mahomes fan, just like Brady and Manning the years before. So you've got like the permanent eraser that the attention is always going to be on Mahomes. You don't really have to worry. You can bring in a guy like William Gay Jr. and with some questionable stuff in his past, he doesn't work out. You can probably walk away, and the focus is still on the fact that you have the best quarterback.
Yeah. So any pick that you really liked, a player going to a team that you think is just a dynamite player going to a dynamite team, or a terrible player going with we didn't see it coming, anything really surprised you?
Well, like I mentioned, I love that running back at LSU. I think he's got he can block, he can run. And you add into a Chiefs offense that is already just a machine, and I think he's just going to take off with that team. Again, we already talked about the Jordan Love pick.
Were you surprised at the one Alabama receiver being the first receiver off the board?
No, I mean, it's the Raiders, and the Raiders love speed. And then...
And I just think it's a Tyreek Hill motivated pick.
It's a Tyreek Hill motivated pick. He's also, like, when you watch him play, you watch him play in high school basketball when they show those clips, he's got insane vertical. Half of the passes he caught, or a quarter of the pass he took for touchdowns. He's not just a deep threat. Like, he's good at catching it short and just taking it to the house. It seems like he loves football. I know that, I try not to take it with, I take it with 4 or 5 grains of salt, but ProFootballFocus.com and some of the nerd sites, I'll just leave it at that, have basically said that somebody with his profile, like his level of production in college, he's more likely to become John Ross than he is to become Tyreek Hill. So,
okay.
They just said that usually if you're going to be a number one receiver in college, like you have a Jerry Jeudy level of production, his teammate that went a couple picks later, you don't have his if you're a John Ross and some of those touchdowns, Alabama doesn't always play the best teams, so a guy with 4.2 speed getting to blow away a bunch of lower level competition and go for 80-yard touchdowns isn't exactly, it's an accomplishment. I'm not trying to take it away. I'm just saying it's not quite.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have our Steeler minute real quick on their draft.
Okay.
Obviously, the giant wide receiver who had the same
giant fast wide receiver.
Not quick though, fast, long strider, fast guy. 6'4", 240 pounds, runs on a sub 4.44 or 4.5 40. So it's exciting. He seems like he loves football. I really like McFarland, the little running back they got out of Maryland. Very fast. They compared him to like Alvin Kamara. I actually read an article today where they were talking about surprises that could become one-day Pro Bowlers, and he made the list. He was the running back they chose. And then I really like the big offensive lineman they got at Louisiana Lafayette. He grew up a Steelers fan. When they showed a picture, when he did his interview later, he was wearing his Bettis jersey with like Steeler blankets everywhere from his home. So he's legit. And it seems like he's just a big guy. He was an All-American, first-team All-American from a tiny school. He was just a road grader, and I think he could be really good for them.
Yeah, his teammate was his teammate Hunt.
Yeah.
That was an interesting story.
It was.
That was a really interesting story.
Yeah.
And I think 3 or 4 guys from that team got drafted. I think 3 offensive linemen altogether got drafted from that team.
They did. Some good coaching and good scouting, I guess.
Yeah.
On the negative, we have a 38-year-old quarterback coming off injury, nobody behind him, a really good defense, and then we have to see which weapons actually become threats on offense. McFarland has the potential to be that kind of guy where, just a guy that can touch the ball and can be a touchdown on any given play. And I think that's one thing the Steelers have sort of lacked since Antonio Brown was gone. So maybe McFarland can kind of step into those shoes.
Let's see. It's intriguing. I like the draft. I like the story around the linebacker. I like the safety. I liked them all except for I wasn't crazy about the last pick. I thought they should have used the last pick on a punter, but I saw they did sign a punter as a free agent, so we'll have to see because they definitely need a punter.
And they also, besides their 10 undrafted free agents who I knew nothing about, they do have 6 XFL players on their roster as of right now. I think they signed more XFL guys than anybody. So,
and I think that's a smart move.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are hungry. Those guys are going to shake up the camp because they know this is probably their last shot.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed about this draft, and it just came up because of the Joe Burrow, how it's rare that a guy goes from being good to awesome, and that it actually translates to the NFL. But sort of with glass half full sort of situation, like I don't mean it's science proves not everybody develops at the same level physically, mentally, everything else. So I mean, I understand it's great to find these young guys that look like they know what they're doing right out of the gate, but I think someone can still be in the early physically I developed way later. I couldn't grow facial hair. I was like 21.
It's just something genes.
Right. So I mean, it's one of those. It's. I think. I mean, I guess history probably bears out that people are what they are. But I think whether the XFL guy or some other James Harrison's a great example. Like some people just need a little bit more time to become what they're going to become.
I think it was interesting that the first 3 picks in the draft all went on one team together at Ohio State.
At one point.
Yep, I thought that was really interesting.
And it went chalk. It went exactly how people thought it was going to go.
Yeah. And, you got to attribute a little bit of that to the no workouts and the virus and everything else.
Yeah.
That it forced you to do that. So, Justin Herbert, what do you think?
He seems like he's got all the, he's 6'6", and in the NFL apparently you don't want to be 6. You want to be 6'5" or shorter to be a good quarterback. You're not a vocal leader, like never really dominated college competition. So and he's going to San Diego where they don't care about football. So, or I guess LA, the other LA part. I can't even get over their not LA or not San Diego part. But
what was his name? It was Joey something, the other Oregon quarterback that had all the hype coming out.
Harrington.
Joey Harrington?
That's one of them. I mean, they've had a bunch of,
But the billboard at Times Square and everything, remember all that stuff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you still have Marcus Mariota, current Raiders quarterback, was an Oregon guy that just, had some of his qualities where they said, you know, he's not a vocal leader. But Mel Kiper, I listened to him a little bit from time to time, and he said that, you know, when they were at, you know, some of those bowl games, or when they got all the college players together, that people did gravitate towards Justin Herbert, which is usually a good sign for a quarterback. So, you never know.
All right, so put your crystal ball on. It's 5 years from now. Which one's the best quarterback?
Tua. Because I think he was the best quarterback. He's been the best quarterback since Andrew Luck for the most part, outside of Trevor. I mean, people that are in the NFL currently, because he counts as that. I know Trevor Lawrence and some of those guys from next year considered even better, but I think
my crystal ball tells me Tua is going to be out of the NFL in 5 years.
I hope not. So who do you like 5 years from now then?
Well, I would say Joe Burrow, but on the other hand, look where he is.
Yeah.
I mean, that franchise is a disaster.
It is, and as we talked about, the Ravens are a beastly team. The Steelers' defense is great. The Browns are still. You look at that defense, and that they have so much talent on that team. It might be tough for him to be good in his own division.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, I know the Bengal fans are hoping he's going to be like the Terry Bradshaw, lead a losing team that's a laughing stock into the promised land. It's a lot of pressure on the kid, and he's from there.
Right. And then you talk about the Bengals have the smallest scouting department in the NFL. They don't really have any analytics people. Not that, I mean, again, I'm not advocating for it or against it. I'm just simply saying, you know,
That's a cheap organization.
It's a cheap organization.
On and off the field. I think it's one of the worst organizations in all pro sports.
It is.
Pick a sport, and they would be in my bottom across the board.
Without a doubt. And I guess we can transition to the NBA because something exciting happened. The Jordan documentary.
Which was outstanding.
Outstanding. And it really it's frustrating that little GM, little Napoleon, wouldn't keep that team together to go for a fourth title. It doesn't make any sense because it seems like it was all ego that didn't want him to do it. He didn't want to have that because he wasn't getting enough credit.
I know, and it just if you won 3 in a row and you won 6, you got to go for 7.
You got to.
You never throw it away and say, okay, we've got enough. Nobody has ever said we've won enough.
No, and it wasn't like, I'm trying to think of a good example, like the last Spurs run where all those guys were on their last legs. Like, I'm pretty sure Jordan, Scotty, and all those guys had another season in them for sure.
Well, obviously, because Jordan came back.
Yeah. And
it's going to be interesting. Tonight's primarily about Rodman, I think, right? Or one of the episodes is.
Yeah. And it's brought up those questions about how sports is one of the few places you can be a crazy person, and people say that's why you're successful. Where, a lot of the stuff Jordan did, not that it's ever a secret. People have always known Jordan was a little bit of a crazy person, but like the way he treated people.
Yeah, Jordan was mean.
You wonder how that would, in a 24-hour media cycle with social media and all these different things, like how would he handle that today? Like how would he be viewed today, and how would he handle that? And his other team, like would his teammates come out and say, this is an abusive relationship? Like, how? I know it's a different time, but you just wonder how it would be perceived today.
That's a good question. Fair question. As we go through this documentary, I'm sure we're going to see more and more of that behavior come out.
Because you've had a few guys simply talk about how like he ruined them, and I know it's
here's what I don't understand. They show how driven he was to win, how focused he was to win. Right.
Right.
Then why is he such a cluster as the guy in charge of the Charlotte Hornets?
It's a different skill set.
It's terrible. He's terrible.
Yeah.
You should have that team, if it had anywhere near what he was able to do on the court, he should be able to identify talent.
Well, that's the other thing. Like,
right? Because he ran talent off that he didn't like.
Yeah.
And he made some talent better. So therefore, he should be able to do that.
Well, it's also when you look at like, I'll defend the Magic a tiny bit here over the last few years. By the time they picked, Mo Bamba was the pick. Aaron Gordon was the pick. Now, to say there wasn't guys behind it, but it seemed like that was the consensus. Whereas Jordan, it seems like he passed on so many good guys to take the worst guy. But to prove how much of a crapshoot it is and how lucky you have to be, Danny Ainge offered him like 3 first-round picks for the rights to draft like somebody, and it ended up being, and instead he took Frank Kaminsky and the trade didn't go through. So Danny Ainge, considered one of the best GMs, was trying to do something really stupid. And he tried to do it again when he tried to get Justice Winslow in the draft, and Miami didn't want to do it. And he offered like the house. So, and again, not that those guys are bad NBA players, but you look at how it worked out for the Celtics. Like, the guy considered to be one of the best GMs of the last few years, just tried to do 2 stupid things and just wasn't able to do them because the other stupid people didn't want to do it. So,
look at NBA facilities are opening up next week.
Yeah.
So players will be able to go in and work out on their own, unsupervised, I believe.
Yeah.
And no team type activities. So it's a start.
It's a start. I still wonder about the logistics of, in my industry, for instance, they're talking about, all the different ways to get film production back going. And, the unions are already saying, no, this isn't going to fly, this isn't going to fly. But they're talking about, trying to, either isolate the entire film production to a hotel with random testing and people stay in their rooms. And then on top of that, put people in pods. So if you're in pod 1 and you're with the set design, set decorators, and you have a person on hand that's testing you every day, and this group pod doesn't really interact with that group pod, which doesn't interact with that group pod. And I understand that it makes sense on paper, but it's such a cohesive thing to put together a film that it doesn't make sense. It'd be a very different experience. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but I think with the NBA, then it's like, how many people are in this hotel, and how much testing goes on, and who becomes a it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But there's people are coming up with all these solutions, but I'm not sure how realistic they all end up being until we have a vaccine and better testing, I guess.
I think we're all looking for a little bit of hope right now, Jay.
Yeah. Well,
we're looking for some sunlight.
Yeah. Well, I would say this morning we watched the second SNL from home with Brad Pitt as the host, and I think it was less embarrassing for the SNL than the first week. I thought they did a little bit better putting stuff together.
I saw the Brad Pitt bit, and I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, his bit was good. They brought back the What Up With That, which is usually one of the last sketches of the night with Keenan, and they had Charles Barkley on, where he sort of sings, and then they brought in Sudeikis doing his little running man in the suit. So it just felt like it was a little bit more. Maybe last week was much more off the cuff than I thought it was. And do you see there's a contest? If you donate, you can write a joke that Che has to read on air without knowing what it is.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty good contest. Like they had him read. Like they gave an example one tonight or last night that he had to read, which was pretty funny. Another made him sound like a sexist person, and he gets that. I mean, that's it. Like I said, I think it's my favorite bit on Saturday Night Live ever is having them read each other's jokes or jokes they write for each other. So for next week, if you can come up with a joke and you donate to the good cause, then they'll read. Michael Che has to read the joke that you wrote. Obviously, caveats, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Part of me would love to be on the reading committee just to see the kind of stuff that gets submitted because I think that'd be pretty funny, but and terrifying on some level.
And terrifying on some levels, right?
But I thought that seems like a pretty fun contest. So. And TV-wise, we've been just binging Breaking Bad a second time. And I do have an observation. The first time I watched the show, I wasn't nearly as sympathetic towards Jesse as I am watching it this second time.
Okay.
I feel like he's much more, again, it's not, obviously he involved himself in the meth and all that other stuff, but he seems like a much more victim of circumstance, just guy trying to figure it out. You feel a little bit more. I feel like, as I said, the first time I watched, I didn't feel like any. He's become much more likable the second viewing years later. Because I watched it in real time the first time, and I don't know what that is or what that's about, but I just throw that out there. And it's still a really good show. So.
We finished the 3 seasons of Ozark. Then we blew through the 6th season of Bosch. And then the last 2 days we watched The Stranger, which is a Harlan Coben on Netflix.
Yeah, I wish those were slightly better,
I think this one was really good. I would recommend it. I would recommend this one, but I can't say anything else. I would recommend watching The Stranger.
Yeah, all the ones he has up on the BBC, they do all the Harlan Coben stuff. They're good. You would just like to see them get like that HBO treatment for a miniseries, I guess.
Yeah.
Take it up that extra notch. And then this is a weird one. When you're with your partner, you always want to try to find, some common ground shows. And there's a show called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which I should hate because it's basically a musical. But it's got
I do hate it, but go ahead.
I didn't hate it.
All right, I did.
Okay, so, there you go.
We're covered.
I've always liked Jane Levy. I like Mary Steenburgen.
I like Mary Steenburgen. I've always liked her.
Yeah, Ted Danson's wife. I don't know. I didn't hate it, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
It does. I will throw out the caveat that it becomes much more of a serious drama at times than a comedy. So.
Having been through 6 seasons of Bosch, Amazon Prime does a phenomenal job putting stuff together.
They really do.
I'm always blown away by the quality of the production.
And if you want to watch something really good and quirky on Amazon, watch The Patriot for 2 seasons. It's fantastic.
The Patriot?
Yeah. The premise is basically you have a father has 2 sons. The father is like a big CIA sort of spook. And his one son is like a congressman, and his other son is sort of a, I guess, whatever the CIA equivalent of a black ops guy is, who goes and does missions for the U.S. government around the world. But he's in the middle of a nervous breakdown, and he's just sort of falling apart. And you're sort of it's got a very like dark sense of humor. It's pretty funny. He occasionally does his own folk music, and he sings about what he's actually doing on stage. And he's going around to other countries, and it's sort of like one of those, he takes care of one problem and two more problems pop up in trying to get this money to a certain guy, and money's getting started. But it's really, really enjoyable, really well written.
And speaking of well written and folk music, I would be remiss if I didn't tell people to go to YouTube and listen to the Liar Tweets tonight.
Yes. Oh, and Disney Plus now has The Simpsons Nostradamus or Simpsons Predictions. And you can see where they actually predicted that Donald Trump would be president like 15 years ago. If you want to.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we haven't eaten any interesting food because we can't go anywhere.
I did eat something pretty good. I mean,
That's right, since your barbecue.
Something to barbecue. The barbecue from Big Bob Gibson's. Really good sauce. And Maria's not a huge barbecue sauce brand. She really liked the red sauce. The pork was really, really good. The brisket was good. That's all I've tried so far. And then we got a bunch of Omaha steaks. And they threw in like free hamburgers. And we made hamburgers on the grill yesterday that actually were pretty tasty. And they've got some, I mean, if you're looking for a way to get no contact meat and groceries, Omaha Steaks actually does a pretty good job. They're not a sponsor. They'd be more than welcome to be a sponsor, but
Yeah, I think Omaha Steaks delivers a good product at a good price.
Yeah, and they've got all kinds
I think their value incentives that they throw in to get you to do it are off the charts.
Yes. The only thing I would say, I ordered Omaha Steaks like 6 years ago, and I had to send them a breakup email because they were emailing like 2 or 3 times a day, and I don't know why companies do that. Yeah, and they actually thought my response was funny. I told them that they were really thirsty, and they seemed like kind of a pathetic ex, and I was losing respect for them, the fact that they were emailing me every day, and that I knew what they make, and if I wanted to get to them, I would call them, and that they would get much more business from me if they were less pathetic. And the guy wrote me back. He's like, "This is a really funny email." But he's like, "We'll stop emailing." I said, "Thank you." But now I'm in the same boat with them again because I ordered them again, and now they're sending me 4 emails a day.
You go throw him another funny email.
I'm going to have to.
I did order Bartolini's from Midlothian, Illinois. The stuffed pizzas, and I think they're the best of all the Chicago pizzas.
Okay.
So I had a meatball stuffed pizza, and it was to die for.
Awesome.
And so on my Twitter, a couple people bought it, and they're waiting for theirs to get ordered. So I'll have some more reviews. But if you're in the mood for pizza, and a lot of stuff on GoBelly right now, which is a great app, a lot of stuff on GoBelly is free shipping. It's free shipping.
And I actually ordered from Picasso's Pizza in Buffalo from Goldbelly because they had an amazing flash sale where you got 2 of their Buffalo-style pepperoni pizzas, and it's got like the curly pepperoni on them.
Okay.
So with my coupon, I got them free ship 2 giant pizzas for $35.
Did they come yet?
No, they come next. But as soon as I get one, I'm going to pop it in. It looked pretty good.
Okay, and I got a flash sale too. I had buy 4, get 4 free Pat's cheesesteaks from Philly.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for those to come. So you got to break it up, people. Figure out different ways to safely sample some great food, and it always makes your day.
And I would say this, almost every pizza on Goldbelly has also been reviewed by Dave Portnoy, who does Barstool Sports, and he does the pizza review. And you get to see the pizza in person, and I think if you watch a couple of his reviews, he can be a little over there. He's a Boston guy, so he can be a little annoying at times. But if you watch a couple of them, it's really good to see the great places. But you can also I think you get a real sense of what could be. I think he's got a really good taste as far as pizza goes.
Yeah. If you're listening and you go to Goldbelly, Prince Street Pizza has some of the best pepperoni pizza I've ever had.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get. But I figured, I took the deal as opposed to the Prince Street. If it was a little cheaper, I would have gone for it in a heartbeat because I really want to try it. That and DeFara.
Yeah. All right, everyone.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay entertained.
We are